Hi, I'm Kristen Lawrence. My presentation today is on inventive spelling in kindergarten. The subject of spelling has always been one of high interest to me. You can call me word nerd. So this is a picture of me in second grade winning the spelling bee. I was a spelling bee participant each year from first grade through sixth grade at Merwin Elementary School. This is a picture of my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Yarnell, along with my brothers. She's the one who sparked this love for reading, writing, and spelling in me. This was during the era of heavy phonics instruction. So when I read through the scenario about inventive spelling, I had a conversation with my mom about how I learned to spell with Mrs. Yarnell. Oh, that rhymes. Okay. My mom shared that Mrs. Yarnell used visual books that slowly took away the picture as I read, and she provided opportunities for me to draw and write expressively without fixing my errors. So with that thought in mind, I came across scenario number 2. And this is when 2 kindergarten teachers went to a writer's workshop and heard about inventive spelling. One shared inventive spelling helps children develop their spelling, phonics, and phonemic awareness. Another disagreed, stating inventive spelling is not research-based and can cause students more harm than good when writing down the, quote, wrong words. As a literacy specialist, I can help by sharing what research says about inventive spelling and its implications on early literacy development in kindergarten. So I start with what is inventive spelling? In Words Their Way, it is defined as spelling as best you can, or also known as developmental spelling. Inventive spelling is the self-directed attempts of young children to represent words in print. It is the way a child spells words that aren't stored in his or her memory phonetically. Inventive spelling is a term coined by Charles Reed in 1970. It is also a developmental process that reflects a young child's present understanding of how words are represented in print, or known as pre-conventional spelling. What does the research on inventive spelling say? Through my findings, I noted it aligns with Common Core state standards. It's referred to as phonetic spelling. Inventive spelling facilitates and strengthens the connections between graphic and phonological awareness. It is highly encouraged to implement in early literacy classrooms for emergent readers, and it works within a child's ZPD, or zone of proximal development. This is a Vygotskian approach to learning, which is child-directive and exploratory, meaning the child is able to discover and explore their mistakes on their own and progress through stages. It aligns with the word study approach to instruction versus the traditional spelling instruction approach. Research shows word study is more effective, which I'll talk more about in the next few slides. Some more findings show that it is an integral part of early reading instruction, builds students' confidence. Children progress through 5 developmental stages. One key component is feedback. So with appropriate feedback, inventive spelling does not impede the learning of proper conventional spellings. In fact, it facilitates learning. It is used to progress students to conventional spelling, which is the ultimate goal, and it is developmentally appropriate for a kindergartner. One of the other components of inventive spelling is that it offers teachers a glimpse into a child's developing knowledge of how spoken language is represented in print. So through inventive spelling, the teacher is able to look at students' writing and see what stage they're at. Are they writing with left to right directionality? Are they spacing their words? Are they seeing beginning sounds, ending sounds, medial sounds? There's a lot of skills that the teacher can look for. One thing that's very important is that the teacher needs to be knowledgeable in the stages of spelling, or they won't know how to provide the proper instruction. The traditional versus word study approach. The traditional approach relies on rote memorization from an assigned list of words. It's rule-driven, comes from a behaviorist view where learners memorize words in isolation. It works for irregular words, which is sight words. This led to traditional spelling is what led to the weekly spelling test. Research showed that 84% of English words are mostly predictable, which, like I was saying, led to the pattern spelling weekly test. The problem with that is kind of this concept of Friday test, Monday miss. Students don't tend to retain the words and apply them to their reading and writing, so they take the test on Friday. If there's no practice or repetition of those words, they forget the words and the skills. Teachers are comfortable with the traditional format, and it doesn't require familiarity with developmental stages. The word study approach aligns much more with inventive spelling, and inventive spelling aligns more with the word study approach. Children learn best through active involvement and practice with words. Hands-on, it's a hands-on approach, such as having word sorts and games. Word study progresses through developmental stages. It is the most effective way to teach predictable words through patterns. One thing that really interested me when I was doing my research that was noted in Putnam's article is that our brains seek patterns, and this approach, as it focuses on word sorts and manipulating words, looks at the patterns in words to make connections. Word study approach is compatible with current research. It allows students to abstract patterns and, like I was saying, build those connections. One drawback is that it depends on teachers' knowledge base of English word patterns. So the teacher needs to be knowledgeable in the word patterns of English and be able to provide that instruction. They need to know the developmental stages. Word study is also beneficial as it teaches word origin, structure, and meaning, and as I was saying, is research-based. Recommended spelling instruction is integrated. What that means is integrating the sight word practice, where you memorize irregular words, with these other approaches, with a multisensory approach, building upon students' phonological awareness. Connected to explicit phonics instruction, allows inventive spelling with effective feedback in the early stages of development. Keynote there is in the early stages of development. If a child is still inventive spelling in the 3rd grade or even 2nd grade, then that child will need intervention as they're not grasping the skills and progressing through the proper developmental stages. Another key component is that it scaffolds instruction. It works within a child's ZPD, allowing them to develop and to grow and to progress, and they progress through developmental stages. The 5 stages of development are emergent, letter name, alphabetic, and so forth. There's 5 levels. This aligns with Words Their Way. The first stage is students 3 to 5 years old. Kindergarten students are around this stage right here, the letter name alphabetic stage, where students are identify letter sound recognition, learn short vowels, and later as they progress into 1st and early 2nd grade, digraphs and blends. And then you can see the skills get much more advanced, building up to multisyllabic words with inflectional endings and homophones, to interrelated words with Latin and Greek root bases. That's when they're about 11 to 14 years old. On the next slide, I'll show you some pictures of the letter name alphabetic stage and the emergent. This is a picture of a child's scribble stages where they're trying to make connections between putting letters on paper. There's no association with phonetic sounds. at this stage. This is between the toddler age, like 3 and 5. When they enter kindergarten at 5 years old, you could see the improvement when they get to the letter name alphabetic stage. This says, I have a blue hat. This child put a capital, started with an H for have, a B for blue. They're in here. They're hearing the B and the L in blue. They correctly spelled hat, the CVC word. So you can see they have hat. This would be the alphabetic stage right here. As students progress, they move through and start to see the patterns in words, and they start to grasp all those patterns. That would be kind of the moving through the pattern stages. And then lastly, making meaning from and understanding the meaning of the words and their concepts would be the final stage. So to recap, inventive spelling builds students' confidence, is child-directed, and encourages exploration. It encourages students to try to spell words they want to so they don't feel limited by their word choices simply because they're unsure of a word's spelling. Inventive spelling provides insight for the teacher to observe students' letter-sound relationships. It's research-based and aligns with the Common Core state standards. Inventive spelling is a significant factor predicting future literacy skills and works within a child's ZPD. Some final thoughts. The goal is always to move children toward the use of standard spellings. Traditional spelling instruction is ineffective, as much research is showing. It doesn't account for developmental stages. It's strongly recommended to reevaluate the traditional spelling approach in schools today. Teachers should learn the developmental stages of spelling so that in order to provide much more effective instruction. Inventive spelling is strongly recommended in the emergent stages of reading. It is a Vygotskian approach with guided support, positive feedback, not memorizing words beyond a child's current developmental level. Okay, when they're working within their ZPD, the child feels confident and more apt to take risks. One quote I like here, it says, inventive spelling attempts do not set children on a path where they will not learn to spell correctly. Fears that allowing children to invent their own spelling may actually prevent them from learning. It does not hamper development, it improves it. So going back to scenario number 2 here, one teacher shared it helps children, the other disagreed, stating it's not research-based and can cause more harm than good. I'd have to say this teacher right here is incorrect. Though there may be some areas like teachers needing to know the developmental stages, all of the research points to the inventive spelling as a positive developmental approach to spelling instruction that is strongly recommended. Here's some books and articles. Thank you for listening to my presentation today, and I enjoyed sharing about a topic that I am passionate about and enjoy. I kept my spelling bee trophy with pride, and I don't know, maybe Mrs. Yarnell, along with my mom, really instilled that, but I enjoy breaking apart words and looking at patterns, and I find it joyful. So I hope you learned something about inventive spelling today. And teachers, I highly encourage you to let your students explore during the early stages in kindergarten. Thank you for listening. Bye.